We will go live in 3, 2, 1.
So good afternoon and welcome to today's high-tech and high-touch healthcare conversation. This is an episode and this is a special edition of Beyond Business as Usual. Many of you probably know we did a regular show each and every day at 12 noon for a long time during COVID. Jonathan Kirsting is with us here. He's here as a partner and as a leader. He oversees all things media and marketing and storytelling for the Tech Council. He's been around for a long time and knows a lot about the stories of what's happening in this region. So we did almost 300 episodes of Business as Usual during COVID. So welcome back to those of you who have joined us over time. I know people will be rolling in. We are recording this session as well. I also would like to welcome back the team at Huntington Bank and thank them for all their belief in us and their sponsorship and every experiment that we run to make sure that we keep the community tethered together on the topics that are really transforming the region and all the people who live here as well as the world. So I also want to give a thank you to the team and the leadership of the Jewish Healthcare Foundation for helping us to build this high-touch healthcare conversation in this series. We're very grateful for their leadership, for their entire team, and helping us try to build this special series. Obviously, coming out of COVID, this whole intersection of healthcare and technology and safety and innovation couldn't come at a better time. So I want to give a shout out to Karen Feinstein for her team's support and all that they do in our community as well as around the world. So today we're very excited. I'm going to jump right in. Today we're very excited to be hosting Dr. Tony Farah. He is the EVP, Chief Medical and Clinical Transformation Officer. Nice title, and in charge of a lot and has a very big vision. And he's got a whole bunch of things that we're going to talk about today in partnership with Andrew Moore. Andrew Moore, I don't know, Andrew, if I should call you doctor, but I think when you earn your PhD, you should be called doctor. And I've known Andrew for a long time, even before my time over at the Tech Council. And Andrew really was, at the epicenter of bringing Google, and Google back then was probably only about 10 people, to Pittsburgh. And many people thought he was crazy. I never thought he was crazy. He may have thought I was crazy, but he has had a really interesting jaunt in terms of his career and passion into Pittsburgh. So I'm going to tout that because I think that Andrew and his leadership what created the inflection point for what we know as Pittsburgh today. So I welcome both of you. Thank you both for being here. And I want to jump to Tony and just say to Tony, set the table for us just a little bit, just about Tony and this long title that you have. And then I'm going to jump to Andrew, so that Andrew can talk about what good trouble he's been up to.
Thank you, Audrey, and great to join with you. Andrew, we've got a lot of work that's up against us here. I'm going to skip the title. So I'm going to get right to it. So I think most of us know that 30% of the healthcare dollar that we spend on ourselves is considered waste. There are many aspects to that waste. Care is fragmented, information is completely disconnected, and the reimbursement model across the country, this is not a Pittsburgh issue, is perverse. The more you do, the more you make, and life goes on. So that's created a healthcare crisis, a healthcare cost crisis. So that's one. So that's foundational in how we came up with our vision. So put that aside for a second. It turns out that what I'm going to say next is not intuitive to everyone, but it is to those of us who are in this space, that when you improve someone's health at scale, so at a population level, the total cost of care comes down. Believe it or not, it's not intuitive to most people. So when you're healthier, you don't need much care, right? As simple as that. And honestly, we have proven between Highmark and Allegheny Health Network in Western PA, over the last 3 years, we've done a series of large-scale pilots, thousands of people each, led by physicians, that not if, but when you improve the health of a population with a number of conditions, the conditions range from, the chronic conditions like diabetes, hypertension, heart failure, etc. But also when you take people who are the high risk population who have multiple conditions, which is how things go, that we actually are able to, when we plan on it, to improve the health of this population, independent of what care they're getting. And I tell doctors all the time, it's not about the patient to doctor or patient to nurse interaction. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, to me, that's sacred, that patients trust their doctors most. We don't want to interfere with that. The ecosystem around us is messed up. That's not a medical term, by the way. And so what we've done is we've taken these populations over the last few years, and we've, in the interest of time, I won't go into the details, but we looked at clinical metrics, health metrics, cost metrics in the background, and patient experience and clinician experience. They all got better. And so there's a lot that goes behind how we did it, but this was the proof of concept that then made us sit back and say, okay, well, if we're able to do this in Western PA for thousands of people, and we're talking about 60, 70,000 people, so it wasn't just a couple of patients, then how can we do this at scale beyond Pittsburgh and even within Western PA? We didn't do it for everyone, right? And that's when we sat back and said, okay, well, we can't do this on our own. We're going to need to partner with an organization that has the wherewithal, the processing power, and the technology that allows us to do this smarter. I usually tell folks internally at Highmark and AHM that we've done this the analog way, the hard way, but we wanted to prove that we can do it, and we did. So that's when we did an RFP with a bunch of silicon companies, and we landed on Google Cloud and Verily the sister company within Google. I don't know if that's a segue to Andrew.
Perfect. You're great. It's like I'm doing, this is act 1, and now we're going into scene 2. So Andrew, welcome. Thank you for being here. Now, how about you jump off of what Tony just said and where it fits in?
So we at Google Cloud were so thrilled when this relationship came through and we were actually able to start working. This is really important for us. And Google Cloud is determined to make technology useful rather than be technology for its own sake. And when I was figuring out my next step in my career, that's what drew me to return to Google, is this notion that it is certainly a lot of fun to build the fastest machine learning algorithm, the most accurate speech recognition system, or the lowest latency edge CDNs, all of those things. Those are great, but it's got to have meaning. And so we've been specifically looking to make sure that as we stretch our abilities in enterprise AI, we are partnering with folks who've got that real meaning to what they're doing, and who we get this 1 + 1 = 3 relationship by working with together. And I try, even though a lot of my team is based in Silicon Valley, I try to run a very kind of Pittsburgh humble organization, in the sense that we should rightly feel proud that we are very competent when it comes to things like natural language understanding, computer vision, and so forth. But we are not world experts in how the US health system runs in 2021. We have to be partnering with the people who are the world experts there. And then we bring what we're good at to the table, which it's not just the fancy AI. I've got to be clear about that. A lot of it is to do with super security on data and very modern technologies to make sure that, for instance, through a technology called customer managed encryption keys, there is like cryptographically provably no way for data to leak during any of this sort of work. Doing all of that with a partner who's got a clear vision of where they want to go is so much better than if we were just doing some sort of random fun research project.
Right. So what does that mean though, Andrew? Let's just peel it one level down just a little bit for us in here. Does this sort of model, I mean, most of the people here understand the cloud. They probably have some vision about what the capability could be. And I think our mind starts to get blown when you think about how we can leapfrog this. So what does it mean, the model, like in terms of artificial intelligence to enhance the clinical and technology capabilities? How do you unpack that from your view?
So again, I will defer to Dr. Farah on a lot of this because we are following when it comes to those end user customer journeys. We're not trying to lead, but I can say the following. Everything in life is a stack. There's a bunch of different technologies at different levels. When we're doing artificial intelligence, the kind of thing that's happening is AIs might be helping look at the transcript, which would usually be coded up by humans of a session or a medical record, to take the unstructured notes or information out of that and turn it into something which is structured and that you can apply business rules to, or basically work behind the scenes, which means that the actual health delivery becomes the thing that everyone's focusing on, instead of all the bureaucracy and meta level work that goes on behind the health systems. So we've got that thing at the top, which is doing these things which understand unstructured information, even if that's from x-rays or scans or voice transcriptions and all of these things. But to do that, underneath it, you need to have a very secure, very fast network and storage models. And so those two things we're really good at. But also, to do it at the top, you need to have someone who knows what they want and has a clear vision for how that technology is going to affect the world. Mm-hmm. And I am actually personally sick and tired of Silicon Valley saying, no, wait, we got it. We're going to do it all. We've understood every industry. We know what to do. Right. We want instead to be guided by the strongest brands and expertise in each of the industries.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great. And I appreciate that, because sometimes it does tilt the other way. So now we go back to the vision, Tony. So that's sort of take that as Andrew's saying, he's a follower. He's probably just being polite, because I'm sure that they're bringing more to the table than following. But this whole notion of unstructured data and making meaning out of it. What is the target condition, Tony? What do you think? What are you thinking? Because I know you're pretty clear about that.
Yeah, so I would say we have a symbiotic relationship. So, we're both kind of, we can't execute on this vision without each other. It's as simple as that. And I would say this is, and Audrey, you said it, it's a very bold vision, but it's a clear vision. And many have failed. This is not for the faint of heart. So, Haven was shut down, IBM Watson was shut down. And so we believe that we have, I'm going to say, the requisite elements and capabilities, some of which exist, some of which we're building with the help of Google Cloud and Verily, that will allow us to achieve this vision. And one of the key aspects to this is the fact that we're starting from where the problem exists, which is with the patients and the doctors and the clinicians. They know every day. So we take care of patients all the time, right? And we take care of them despite all these problems that we're talking about here. And so why not pull things together through the lens of the people who understand exactly every minutia where the problems are, and begin to solve for them. So this is kind of bottom up, right? And I think that's what Andrew was referring to.
Right.
In terms of, so what does all this mean? Here's what I would say. So health, as we know it, evolves 24/7, not just when we're in the doctor's office or, God forbid, in the ER or in the hospital. But that's the nature of who we are as human beings. And what the current state is one where we're reactive, not proactive. We try to be proactive as much as possible. I try to take care of my cardiac patients as much as I can with the tools that I have. The problem is the information. When you give clinicians information they can act upon, they know exactly what to do. They're not at a loss. The problem is we don't think about it this way, but we just don't know what happens to our patients when they leave the clinic or the hospital, right? We try, right? And this is what I mean by everything is fragmented. And so, if there's a way to, and there is, to provide the patients and the clinicians with this, what I call actionable information, that they can act upon it, right? Not just raw data that no one cares about. Okay, then, and if we can do it 24/7 in a smart way, so only when it's necessary, right? There's a lot of thinking and algorithms that go behind that, how to do that. So this is the end state, right? Then we can care for our patients, and the patients can be actively engaged in their health in real time, and not 24/7. They don't have to be obsessed about health all day long. But that's how we do two things. That's how we turn things upside down and change things from being reactive to proactive, one. And then two, that's how we can act on things that prevent them from becoming life-threatening emergencies. And that's how, at the same time, we can start taking things that are in the process of becoming real chronic conditions that impact life, to just stopping them in their track. Whether it's pre-diabetics, preventing diabetes, so that's just one example. I can go down a list of conditions that we believe we can definitely achieve this vision on, and exactly how that would what that picture looks like in real life.
So in talking to this symbiotic relationship, and Andrew saying he deeply appreciates working with someone who has a vision to try to conquer this massive, bold vision. Andrew, you've been around. I don't want to say like you're old. I just want to say that you've been around and you've seen the iterations of whether it's Google Health or, IBM Watson. We can list so many different attempts, which is always a good sign. That means people really care about this stuff and they're trying to figure it out. What's different now? What's different now that you feel like, okay, we're jumping in on this? What's different?
All right, so I am old enough to know that it's always good to give credits to my boss. My boss is Thomas Kurian, who has been CEO of Google Cloud now for a couple of years.
Right.
He has brought us a very new way of looking at things, and I think it's been, for me, it's been a huge point in my career. This idea that, which is advanced technology making it work, we do it working with enterprise customers on not just as you put it before, be a follower and like wait for instruction, Tony, but make sure that together, if there's something which is possible that Tony says it would be great to be able to do, and we see, yeah, we can do that, then we can work together, we design a product together that way. Where things, in my opinion, this is me speaking personally, not as a Googler, have gone wrong, is where a sort of an armchair quarterback type of person in a big fancy Silicon Valley company, not specifically any of the examples you gave, sits back and says, well, I had surgery on my shoulder a couple of weeks ago. I know everything there is to know about healthcare. What they should do is this, and then introduces something which is peripheral or not so important. But there are discussions with Tony, for instance, in inequities in the delivery of healthcare between folks who are lucky enough, like I am, to live just a 10-minute drive from AGH versus someone in a rural community who doesn't necessarily get that. You look at that, You then look at the cases which, for folks in those situations, there can be unequitable solutions. And then you back up with questions like, well, teleconferencing or video conferencing for consultations. A lot of people become more comfortable with it now. What can we do for them? Can we do for people who are still nervous about working over a video phone with a physician? What can we do with people who are nervous, who are not able to give a full set of results? Then you work backwards from that. Before you know it, you're down to the point where you're saying,
Hey, Andrew, you're freezing. I'm going to go back to Tony right now because you're freezing. So Tony, what are the digital, are you there? Are you back, Andrew? All right, I'll go back to him in a minute. So Tony, what are some of the digital tools that you imagine to be, at all of our fingertips, all of us, meaning practitioners as well as customers, patients, whatever you want to call us in the system?
Sure. Yeah. So the key is to, I don't know if you want to go back to Andrew. I think he's back on.
Are you back on, Andrew? Well, you continue with this and I'll go back.
yeah, please carry on, Tony, and then we can come back.
Yeah.
Okay. So the key is when you think about the companies that haven't been able to kind of break through, right? Versus what we're trying to do, because you asked a very important question, what makes you guys so special?
Right.
Is we're basically taking the patients and clinicians from the beginning of solving for the problem throughout the journey, right? And then taking the capabilities that this is thunder and lightning here. Taking the capabilities that Andrew brings with all the expertise, know-how, infrastructure, processing power that he can talk much better about, marrying it with this clinical expertise and the kind of real life knowledge of what we're talking about. But then here's the key. Technology by itself isn't going to solve the problem. Having clinical expertise isn't going to solve the problem, hasn't solved the problem. The key is, how do you operationalize this to get to the point where you have that information? I keep saying we got to get the right information proactively to the patients and clinicians in their hands without them having to ask for it, by the way. And I can give you some examples of where AI comes into this and the predictive analytics, so that we can take care of these people, the patients, proactively and move the health curve, I'm going to say, to the left, to the healthier part, and really lower the total cost of care. And I usually say, what better way of addressing the healthcare cost crisis than by improving people's health? It sounds very simple, but that's what we're trying to do. So, okay, so what does this mean? It means that if you have patients with a series of conditions, I'm going to name just a few, and these are extremely common, millions of people have them, so they're not rare conditions. Diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, congestive heart failure, COPD, a number of conditions. The whole concept of why aren't people compliant with taking their medications? That leads to problems too. And there's a lot more, by the way, right? And so the idea is, at the end of the day, what's going to be different? Here's what's different. A number of things. Number one, when you say, what's the future of medicine and healthcare, and you think about what do people spend most of their time on as patients today and doctors, it's a lot of diagnostics. So the reason patients go and seek medical care is because, okay, I have a skin lesion or something, I don't know what it is, I'm going to go see a dermatologist. I'm not feeling well, I'm going to see my primary care physician. I have chest pain, I'm going to see a cardiologist, right? It's all about, if you think about it at the high level, it's all about, okay, well, so what's wrong with me? Okay, this is today's world. Tomorrow's world, and some people, one of my colleagues has written a book in the past called Doctorless Medicine. It doesn't mean we don't need doctors. It means a lot of those diagnostics are going to become available tools to people, not just clinicians. For example, the FDA right now has hundreds of wearables that can diagnose conditions for the FDA to approve. And I'll give you a couple examples. So you can take a smartphone and take a picture. Let's say your child or you fell and you don't know if you broke your arm. You can take a picture and it looks like an x-ray, but it's not an x-ray because it's a phone. And it tells you whether it shows you and it tells you in layman's terms whether you have a bone fracture or not. This technology is there. It's not mature enough yet, but I'm just giving you ideas of where things are headed. You can take the same smartphone and take a picture of something you have on your skin, your face, your arm, whatever, and it tells you what it is. They've done these trials with dermatologists who are the best in the world versus the computers. So this is what's feasible. And you think about, okay, most of the time people are going to the doctor to figure out what's wrong. So this is where wearables and technology comes in terms of diagnosing the problem. But then that's not enough, right? Then you gotta marry it or integrate it with the rest of the healthcare system so that now the patient has it, your doctor has it at the same time. You know what we call it next best actions. You know what the next step is. That level of understanding and knowledge, first of all, engages people. It engages the doctors who normally, were stressed out, calling people saying, what was your x-ray? What did it look like? And so forth. Pulling all this together, integrating it into a simple format that patients can understand and the doctors know exactly what's going on. That's the future of healthcare. I'm just giving you just one example.
Right. I mean, I want to get back to Andrew. When you got cut off, you had some technology issues where you're from, so where you're sitting. But I want to get back to you now because I think like you could have picked any place to sort of do this work. And, here you are, addressing the issues of healthcare. It's a 6-year relationship. Is that what the journey is? Is it a 6-year partnership?
Yep.
And so you have a team of people that are based in where? Like, what's your team of people? How big is the effort of this work?
Is that for me or
Google
Andrew?
Cloud team? For the Google Cloud team, how big is this? How much time is this of yours?
This is actually a large undertaking. We have folks from engineering teams, the product management teams. Critically, we have folks from our user experience teams because, as we all know, often it's not enough to have good technology. You've got to figure out how to deliver it in a way which is human compatible, if you like. And then sort of experts on integration to make sure we do these secure integrations of the data that's involved. So there's actually a whole bunch of parts of Google all coming together, sort of focusing on this particular issue. We don't, as a matter of course, actually talk about team sizes publicly.
So if people in the tech community, though, and if in the tech community, if they want to get involved and be supportive are there roles for this yet? In terms of where you are? Are there roles, or is that distracting to the agenda that you've targeted?
Well, Google is always hiring in Pittsburgh and in other places. So yeah, we're always interested in applications at Google/jobs, and folks with experience in biomedical world, for instance. There are openings in many parts of Google for folks with that kind of expertise.
So Andrew, you're a practical guy. You're a science guy. You're a practical guy, and you feel this time these efforts might really have the kind of impact that Tony has crafted in terms of his vision?
Yeah, so as we've been working on our roadmaps together, we're not taking the approach of everyone hold your breath for 5 years and then something magic will happen. We are putting into place the bits of the platform which allow us to safely and securely use the results of taking unstructured data of the kind that Tony was referring to, turning it into structured information, which we then process for prediction and modeling and helping customers make better decisions. So you don't see the big bang complete change of health. Healthcare after the first 6 months. Every 6 months, things get a little bit better.
Okay. Jonathan, before we end, we could talk about this for quite a while. There's a question that Chris Mamla asked, but he's saying, Tony, maybe what kinds of savings have you seen as a result? I was going to answer for you saying it's too new. I would imagine that you have some anticipated belief in savings. I don't know if you want to answer that, but then I want Jonathan to grab these two other questions. I just wanted to be cognizant that Chris asked that question about savings.
Yeah, so those are pilots that we did, and we tracked both the health outcomes and the total cost of care. So health outcomes improved, total cost of care came down. We obviously have made the decision to invest quite heavily in this vision and strategy, along with Google and Verily, because we believe that it's worth the investment. At the end of the day, the value is going to come in two ways. One is improved health, which is our primary goal, but at the same time, the total cost of care comes down. Now, when that total cost of care comes down, that has to go back into reinvesting in this technology and those capabilities, but also ideally truly bending the healthcare cost curve.
Okay, so Jonathan, we only have a few more minutes, but maybe you can, there's two good questions out there. If you want to just abbreviate them and ask.
Stephen Glow's got a great question here. He wants to know, what potential impact could this have on patient safety within the clinical settings? He says, I can see how this can benefit prevention and health outside the walls of the hospital, but are there actionable insights to help providers and patients during direct care?
It's actually both. It doesn't take just one aspect of health or another. It's direct care and it's ambulatory care. But in the hospital, even today, I'll just give you one quick example. We have virtual ICU care where we have physicians directly connected with rural hospitals or hospitals that don't have it, critical care specialists, where you have these robots in the ICU rooms with nurses, but no doctor, no critical care doctor, I should say. And we are even today taking care of patients in their hospitals remotely. And this, we have data behind that suggesting that the care outcomes improve, and obviously the patient experience improves too.
Is there anything else, any other question, Jonathan, that you want to grab?
Got a couple here. I'm not sure how much time we have left because I know we are up against.
Yeah, Andrew has to drop, and we've gone over our time. But here's the deal: we want to have more of these conversations. So I'll follow up with Andrew, follow up with Tony. This is only the beginning. We wanted to just let people know what kinds of things are happening. Keep these conversations close to all of us who care deeply about healthcare and care about our community. So my hat's off to both of you. Thank you, Andrew, for taking the time with us. Thank you, Tony, for your big, bold vision. We hope to see, have more of these conversations, which we will. And I want to thank the Jewish Healthcare Foundation for their leadership in these conversations and trying to get more of these conversations across the technology community, as well as Huntington Bank for always believing in us. So signing off for now, stay connected to us. We're going to continue to do these things and stay safe. Happy holiday weekend to everyone.
See you guys.
Thank you all.